Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello, beautiful people.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
You're looking sharp.
Always. No, I don't know who's going to give me money today. I have to be ready for the money.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tayo, I think you should get a mirror,
Yeah.
No. This screen is good enough. Let me pepper them gang. At least everybody looking at me.
Fine boy, you are married. No, they do fine boy for us.
No. I mean, I cannot apologize.
We'll report it to Madame.
I cannot apologize
just
for.
So painful that the people you are doing fine boy for is just mail all the way.
Don't worry, they will so come. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, finally.
Oh, all right, that's good. Welcome. How are you?
I'm all right. Good to see you.
We want you to do oral number 2.
Yeah, I know. I know the feeling.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We'll just wait for another 2 minutes.
Okay.
And we should start.
Oh, all right.
Congrats.
All right. Good day to everybody. My name is Tayo Shubajo. So, in the house today we have Captain. Let me try and mute some people. We also have Captain Afolabi Busayo, and we have our special guest today, which is Captain Harris. But before I say much about Captain Harris, I have something to show you guys. You won't believe it. I don't know, but well, you wouldn't be able to say I shouldn't share this, but I just have to. Guys, this is very, very interesting. Trust me, it is interesting. So can you see my screen? If you cannot see my screen, you need to swipe. You need to swipe to the right so that you can see my screen, right? So can everybody see my screen? So I'm going to play this. All right, so I've been watching this for like a couple of times. So let me play it again so that you can join me in the laughter. I hope everybody's seeing it. Video. Anyway, I stole it.
Okay. Good evening, Captain Tayo.
Yeah, good evening to you. So, everybody, that is the official dancer in the video I just showed you. That's Captain. He successfully passed Class 1 orals last week. Was it last week, right?
Yeah, last week.
Yeah, last week. So,
on Tuesday.
Yeah, so today is Tuesday as well, you see. So congratulations. Congratulations to you, and
thank you.
We share excitement, and we are pleased with the result. So today I said you're going to come in today, encourage the students, just to have a few chat. But I want you to maybe briefly tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you do your class 3? Where did you do your class 2 and your class 1? How did the journey? Where did you start from? Which maritime school did you go?
All right. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I hope you could hear me. Like as Captain Taya said earlier, I'm Harris by name, and I'm happy to be part of the meeting tonight, where I would like to share some of my stories with you. Some quite boring stories, but whichever. I hope everyone benefit from it at the end of the day. Okay, so I'll just quickly move First of all, I started my maritime journey from the Maritime Academy of Nigeria, Oron, which is, let's say, about 11 years ago when I started. And at that point, I always, coming to the college as a fresher, we get the briefings of how you could, become a master mariner. And we used to have this lecturer then, late Capt. He's always talking about being a master mariner. So I got really interested. Why I'm bringing this part into the story is that interest is one big deal, being your main motivation. For me, it was the interest. And at that point, I go to the cafe most times in my first year, trying to browse about the MNTB colleges and all that, trying to see, okay, how can I really become this master mariner this man is always talking about during lectures. So, I started motivating myself and, building it up from that point. I finished the diploma studies, and later on, I went to sea for the cadetship period. I spent much time learning for about the required number of months. After that, I did my class 3. Okay, at that point in time, doing the class 3, I had to do it in Nigeria because it has a lot of requirements going for the OW, especially the financial part of it, which, it's involved in our kind of training. And sometimes it gives a lot of people headache, getting this box of money. I was pretty young at that time, so I did my OW from around Nigeria, but I didn't stop there. The motivation of being a master mariner was there. Looking at the colleges like I always do from, my first year, I always tell myself I want to go to Glasgow or Liverpool, that was the dream. So I kept on, working towards it, and I went for my class 2, which I did in Blackpool at the Fylde College, which is Fleetwood Nautical College. Then I, just passed the masters orals last week. Though I've been prepping, I did preps at Glasgow initially, and because of the coronavirus, everything wasn't going on as planned, so I kept prepping from home, and I was able to get through last week. So that has been the journey, and I would just quickly say, in a nutshell, it's all about the interest first. Not really, money wasn't the motivation and all that. I kept pushing based on the interest, to get this thing done and to get the appropriate training, and that was what motivated me to this point. And I thank God that everything has, I've achieved my dreams, and it's just a starting point for me, in my maritime career. So that's just all I have to say for now.
Thank you very much. So, along the line, you did not go to Warsash. That's the best maritime school in the world.
Yeah, I didn't go to Warsash, but I think what we had at Fleetwood Nautica was quite good. It was quite good because at least I was declared competent by the authorities, so I feel Fleetwood was okay.
That's good. A quick one. You see, I'll put my cards on the table. So I started in Oron as well, as a lot of people might know. And I had my class 3, class 2, class 1 in England. I've had the opportunity of working with a lot of people that have had class 3 in Nigeria or somewhere else and moved on, gone different places. Is there any difference really? I mean, between what you get when you did your class 3 and the type of knowledge you got when you went for your class 2? What do you think there's sufficient difference for people to pursue that kind of step, go from that,
Yeah, honestly, I have to be very frank with everybody. Doing the class 3 in Nigeria was, a lot of efforts, and we all know what Nigeria is today. Basically, it's not just maritime; it's like literally every sector. There's this first, I would say. Oftentimes, there's this point of skipping steps, especially during training. You see it from our universities, if we want to be frank. I hope we're all Nigerians here, so we could talk Nigerian. So when we're doing the OW at Oron, it involves a lot of studying, oftentimes you don't have the materials to actually do the studying as well. So definitely there would always be a gap. Once there's a gap in training, there will be a gap in productivity at the end of the day. But somehow, definitely you pass. So that part of it was there. But when I went to the UK for my class 2, I had everything to study. You know, the internet was there, the books, everything required was there, the lecturers was there, so you have everything up to you. And that part of maybe this will be overruled or overlooked wasn't there, so you have to go through every step. And honestly, if at the end of the day you get a certificate of competency, I just, you know, for anyone who has a UKCs, you understand that no matter how hard you try to, you know, get through from any point, okay, maybe I don't want to look through this topic thoroughly, maybe later on, these are more important topics. You find out that the system has already been made in place for you to actually go through these things. If you don't go through, you go and you come back again, you know. That's just one thing I have to say. So frankly, yeah, Nigeria is okay, Nigeria is good. I was still developing, I was still trying to get better. But honestly, there's a very big difference, and I would encourage anyone to get first-class maritime training. I would always recommend the UK. I know people talk about Singapore, Poland, and all, but at some point, our civilization today is from the UK. You know, when we talk about civilization today, it's better from there. When it comes to studying, they do it very well. It's not like I'm trying to market it. If you come, you see for yourself. You know, there's this there's this saying they say in oral, you know, who if you go, you would really understand. You know, for those that have not been there, I would really encourage you. It's a route that I would encourage every seafarer, if you have the opportunity and the means, you know, don't give up on it. Make sure you try as much as possible to follow it up so that you get the required training. And at any point, you could prove yourself on anywhere you find yourself. And I think that's all I have to say about this.
All right, so let me put my cards on the table. And this is why I asked that question. I understand, you know, some people will be like, oh no, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you can get this from Oron as well or from Nigeria as well, and it's the same license and all that. I have worked on the LNGs, you know, and I've worked on oil tankers, I've worked on the barges, and I've worked in the offshore field. I see the difference. I personally think, yes, if you have a foreign license from the UK, I think most people should be humble enough to be able to share that knowledge with those that don't have it or don't have that opportunity to have it. I think that humility sometimes is not for everybody, not there. So it's not like, yeah, I'm proud now because I have this. Then those that are back home will feel like he wants to come and show off. Then they show this defensive mechanism of, you know, don't tell me, you know, don't tell me, yeah, it's the same thing, you know, and all that. And I think if we find a way to integrate between ourselves, we can have this knowledge flow, you know, both ways. Yes, I did a lot of training abroad, but most of the things I understand from the offshore industry were from people that were the locals, if you understand what I mean. The people that, you know, the Ijo guys that know how to look at the water. So my school smart wouldn't have helped me very well if I wasn't humble enough to learn from those guys. And they as well were, they were able to humble enough to say, okay, yeah, probably this guy have one or two things he can tell us about, and exchange of that knowledge. I think it's really important. What do you have to say about that, sir?
Yeah, that's correct. Basically, like you've said, you know, it's all about opportunity. You wouldn't fault anyone for trying to do as much as they can. But at the same time, we all know in life that if you actually want to push, you know, to get to some certain point, yeah, you can. So, you know, when it comes to, you know, sharing of knowledge, it's well encouraged on board, you know, with irrespective of where you got your license. It is quite essential that everybody has this attitude to learn, you know, because one thing is to get the theoretical knowledge from college, but practically also you need everybody's integration. It's like a teamwork put together to get it right in the situation. But, you know, looking at that, trying to share this knowledge also, it's like you said about the defensive mechanism. Yeah, it's experienced. I've experienced it most times, but they just know, okay, yeah, this is the person. he will try to, because I have so much on my head. If I have it and I see you don't, I want to give it out to you, because at the end of the day, it's for us to run the ship safely and for us to do our job. So yeah, that part of it is very, very important. It's a lot of everybody should come in, as one in this situation, and try to share knowledge, try as much as possible to create a helping hand for each, because at some point, even if you have a ticket from any part of the world, you can't know everything. Operations are different. People who have been on the ship too have, some knowledge. If you're coming in for the first time, for example, so all these things put together is just, we are seafarers. We always come together, just as we're doing now on this platform, to share our knowledge, to try and get better in different ways. I think, frankly, you're right on that part, and something that we should encourage and we should keep on doing. And I know how it works. It's not like it's human to have this feeling of okay, maybe you have this opportunity to get this and I don't, and you're trying to feel a bit high. It's everywhere, but being human is being human. Fact is fact, and at the same time, we should just try as much as possible, to create an enabling environment for learning at any point in time, because there is no limit to knowledge, and everybody could, be contributing to any form of knowledge anywhere and at any time. So I think you're right on that part.
Thank you very much. We will get to what you have for us today, but before I say, I have to say a big thank you to the executives of the alumni of Maritime Academy of Nigeria, ORON. This organization is the UK organization, all right? So it's called the Amano UK, Amano Europe, actually. So they've decided to sponsor our weekly classes. And they've also said that we should look for engineers also, that we want to do the engines for the engineers, and they would also be happy to, to sponsor that as well. So if you know the engineers that can do this, let us know. So the Amano UK, Amano Europe, thank you very much for this. So Captain Harris, over to you. So what do you have for us today? And
okay,
feel free. So you see Captain Anson Oliver, and you see the VA is Captain Busayo Afalabi.
All right.
So you can call on anyone else. I will try and be the police. They must answer.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Captain Tayo, once again. Good evening to everyone in the house. I've already introduced myself. I'm Harris. And first time here, I have something to share. We always have something to share, even when we're at sea, anywhere we meet. It's good we, share knowledge together. Without wasting much time, I want to pick up on the certification part of it, because we should understand as seafarers from our level of experience that, a ship without certification, one, it cannot trade. It's more like a dead ship. You can't do business if you're not certified. It shows you're not seaworthy. And at the same time, there is just, even if you if you want to join a ship and there are no certificates as a seafarer, there's no point joining. So we're going to be looking at certificates today. And from time to time, I know most of us have heard the word, Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Okay. From time to time, we've been, so conversant with the word statutory and non-statutory certificates. So I would just like to, brief us a bit on that. Statutory certificates basically are required by, law. Like for UK vessels, certificates that are required by, they've gone through parliament, from flag. And these are certificates that are required by law to be on board. Then the non-statutory certificates, these are just certificates for commercial purpose, not required by law as well. Then also you look at mandatory certificates also. Even when you're talking about the word statutory, then you drift into mandatory certificates. Like for example, if maybe a vessel is flying, let's say a Nigerian flag, for example, and let's pick up like ballast water management certificate. Maybe it's not yet ratified by Nigeria, but it's being ratified by a lot of tonnages and all that. For the vessel to trade internationally, to go to different ports, she would have that particular international ballast water management certificate, so it becomes mandatory as well. So statutory is the one that has been ratified by law by the flag states. If I could do a quick recap, non-statutory is just for commercial purpose. It's not binding by law. The mandatory certificates also has been ratified by most of the tonnages as per the convention binding that certificate. And so for you to trade internationally, then definitely your vessel has to comply. In most cases, you see the flag state giving a statement of compliance in this regards. So that's for that bit of definition we just want to go through. Then, then when we're looking at certificates, we also have in mind that certification has to do with surveys. Most of us on board will see emails coming, okay, prepare for a load line survey, prepare for these surveys. Then sometimes we'll get to the point where we see prepare for ISPS audit or verification, or you get a mail or maybe flag state inspection. Now, oftentimes you see people not, they try to, okay, why they call this a survey and why the next one is termed, an inspection and the other is termed an audit. All these definitions are quite confusing, but you just have a basic understanding of what it is. For a survey, basically it has to do with a particular certificate. Looking at that, like, okay, let's pick up, let's say, safety equipment certificate, cargo ship safety equipment certificate. If you want to do a survey on it, that means you're going to check everything that regulation says, on the basis of which that certificate has been issued. So that's the basic understanding of what a survey is. Trying to check to see if everything conforms to the regulation, and if it does, then the certificate is reissued, or annuals or periodic is endorsed. Then if you look at an audit, it's just a systematic process. Like if you like take for example the ISM code. If vessel has made an SMS and it has been checked to see that it conforms with the ISM code. So the audit definitely would just be to come check the system you've put in place in compliance with a particular code or regulation to see that you comply with such. So basically that's the understanding of what an audit is. Then finally, talking about inspections. Inspections has to do with, you have PSA inspection, flag state inspection, or maybe for us offshores, you see oftentimes the charterers coming for inspection. You see they'll jump from maybe checking your things about the Maritime Labour Convention. They go to security. The next point they are going to safety. It's just to check different regulations. That's why at the end of the day you get a certificate of inspection. So an inspection just has to do with checking of your compliance with different regulations. A survey is just to check your compliance or if you're certified for just a particular regulation. And an audit is also a systematic way to check your what you've put in place, like maybe your SMS or your ship security plan, to see that it complies with the code and you're actually doing this. And one thing about having to do with certification and surveys, you try to see that they go for evidence at the end of the day. What they want to see is evidence. Are these things in place? Are these things being done on board by looking at your records? So that's just, we should have that understanding. So because during the process of this discussion, we'll be looking at different certificates, and we'll be talking about their surveys or audits and all that ongoing. So if we move further now, we'll try to look at most certificates, most statutory certificates are vetted from SOLAS, which is, safety of life at sea, the convention that has to do with SOLAS. And it is very easy for us to, know which and which certificate applies by just knowing the chapters of SOLAS. So I always encourage seafarers to, get acquainted to SOLAS, try to familiarize yourself with SOLAS chapters. It helps you know which certificates and which chapter applies to which certificates. Because for us, I believe this, meeting is about, preparations for competent certificates like, mates, masters, and OWs. At the same time, too, we don't want to go into a situation whereby we're trying to mock things of, having a student just reading cargo ship safety construction certificate, just trying to go through cargo ship safety equipment radio and where or how it has been issued, not knowing which regulation allows for the issuance of such certificates. If you go to a surveyor in an exam, it could mess up the whole exam entirely if he picks on that certificate and is trying to, make some form of, interrogation on that. So basically, we'll start from SOLAS certificates today. I'll just run through, and a quick memory for us is just to, try to build up certificates on the chapters of SOLAS. It's quite easy if we, get that in hand. So at least for today, one of the tasks, if we have our notes with us, just pick it as a task to, try to get familiar with the chapters of SOLAS. It's very important. Maybe after the lectures during the course of the week, you could, run through that. And okay, let's start from here. A vessel would always have a nationality, which is the flag she's flying. Nigerian flag, Bermuda flag, British flag, whichever flag. So for her to have that nationality, she have a certificate of registry with the flag state, and that certificate of registry will be on board the vessel. Seeing some, some flags, the certificates of registry are just there for life. It's valid. But for like a UK flag, it's just valid for 5 years, and which is subject to, annual flag state verification. So basically, that's the certificate of registry. Then, if you want to just quickly break down and talk about SOLAS certificates, then we'll look at SOLAS Chapter 1. It's just talking about general provisions of the code, SOLAS convention. Then we have Chapter 2. Chapter 2, stroke 1, we talk about constructions of vessels, subdivision, machinery, electrical systems in terms of vessels construction. And if we keep our mind, we will now think about what certificates could this chapter bring out for us. Could see that, yeah, we have. For that, if you remember your certificates on the vessel, maybe if you have the opportunity, to flip through certification, or so maybe on the studying your chief officer or the master, you see you have the cargo ship safety construction certificate. That is coming out from the Chapter 2, stroke 1 of SOLAS. Then you look at the next part of SOLAS, which is 2 and 2 stroke 2 or 2-2, whichever. You get things that has to do with fire protection, extinguishing systems, Chapter 3 also. In that chapter, you have under one of the regulations, I think 19, if I remember correctly, it's talking about vessels to have a document of compliance for, the carriage of dangerous goods on board. For those of us who are, like Captain talked about, offshore supply vessels is quite common. You see, we have a document of compliance for carriage of dangerous goods on board. Then you look at Chapter 3, also talking about life-saving appliances and arrangements. Chapter 2 and 3 definitely will bring about vetting the cargo ship safety equipment certification. In this regards, we have Chapter 4, which is for radio communications. And looking at that, you get this certificate from there, which is your cargo ship safety radio certificate. Then Chapter 5 of SOLAS, you have where you could get your safe manning document. So I'm just making a run through on this. We have Chapter 6. We have which will have things like document of authorization for grain, and this Chapter 6 also is betting things like the code, the gas code and the chemical code, which will give international certificate of fitness also for the carriage of gases, and also certificate of fitness for the carriage of chemicals as well on board. Then you look into the main one, which most of us are conversant with, which is Chapter 9, Management of Safe Operations of Ships, where you have certificate which has to do with first of all, the company will have a document of compliance, meaning that the source side aspect of the company has been verified to comply with the ISM code, and also you have a ship having the International Safety Management Certificate, which is fondly called the SMC, showing that the ship also has been verified to comply with the ISM code as well, actually has been issued this certificate for that. Then we look into SOLAS chapter 11, which 11-2, which goes for security. And in this aspect, you'll be looking at the vessel having the International Ship Security Certificate. And also the vessel would have a continuous synopsis record. Okay, running through the certificates and then comparing them with the chapters of SOLAS, you see that the certificates are, these few certificates I've mentioned, they are statutory and they are vetted from SOLAS. And also these certificates now, one thing we need to know, we look at their validity and then the survey intervals. We have the Harmonized System of Survey and Certification. This Harmonized System of Survey and Certification, is just there to, standardize the period and the intervals between, validity and the period of service between certificates. And looking at that, you see most certificates on board the vessel, you see they are valid for 5 years, this is what the Harmonized System of Certification and the surveys does. It's there to just make sure that the certificates are valid for a period of 5 years. Also giving also the types of surveys that can be done. So for each of these certificates, definitely you have initial survey. And these initial surveys would talk about checking to see that everything on board conforms with the particular regulation. Then you have the annual survey also for certifications, so annual survey for certifications, which would just come for like a proper check, like a visual checks, inspections, just to see that what is on board also complies with the regulations. We have periodic surveys. These surveys will definitely be testing equipment and all that. For a periodic survey, we have intermediate surveys, and these intermediate surveys are in most cases done between the second to third year anniversary date of the certificate. Within that window, we have this intermediate, and also we have renewal surveys. And if we really look into what the HSSC is all about, we have a position for survey of outside the ship's bottom, and the additional surveys. Additional surveys are basically maybe when there is any form of repairs that has been done, maybe as a result of accidents or modifications, then an additional survey will be required on board. So that's basically for SOLAS certificates. There are still more, like some performance tests from Chapter 5, like for your AIS, your VDR, but we won't go into those ones for now. We just want to go through the basic ones. If I could go back again, I will look at the cargo ship safety construction certificates. You see that it has the normal initial surveys. It has an annual survey, an intermediate survey, and a renewal survey. The cargo ship safety equipment now would have initial, annual, periodic, and renewal surveys. Then the cargo ship safety radio certificate will have initial, periodic surveys and annual. Now, from what I said initially, wonder, okay, why is cargo ship safety construction having intermediate between the second and third year anniversary, and the cargo ship safety equipment is having a periodic survey? Now, if you look through it, you see that, okay, if you want to test for safety equipment on board, like for your cargo ship safety equipment survey, you need to check for example, you need to make a test on your maybe your rescue boats or your live boat. You can't just make a test without actually, doing a function test on this equipment. So this is what the periodic survey is all about. That's why you see in this situation, instead of having the intermediate, they will have the periodic. Like for your cargo ship safety radio, you see after the initial surveys, or what you have to do renew as a periodic survey. Because if I want to test if, for example, if VHF is working, or your SSB, for example, is working, I need to actually carry this test. So a function test needs to be done on the basis of periodic survey. Then, so we should just get that clear. I would recommend for everyone to also try to look into this, the MSN 1751, the merchant shipping notice, which will give us more explanations and more details about the HSSC, and we should try to get our understanding about that as well, so we understand the difference between each kind of surveys, and why you see that for each certificate there's a different kind of survey. Like for looking at the Chapter 9, which gives birth to the ISM, certification, where you have the companies and document of compliance and the international, the safety management certificate of the vessel. You discover that it has, an initial survey, it has, an intermediate survey between the second and the third year, and also a renewal survey. Audit. Yeah, I'm using the word survey. Sorry about that. It's called audit or verification in this regards, because basically it's coming to check your system to see that, okay, that you have an SMS on board, and does it comply with the code? So while trying to know the certificates, also try to know the surveys that apply to these certificates, because it's very important. If you go for an oral exam or any form of exam, they won't just ask you to list certificates, especially for management level. You need to know the survey intervals and what will be looked into. And if I could just also do a recap on this area, you discover that, okay, yeah, the certificates, the survey intervals, maybe after tedious studies. And if they ask you, okay, now prepare for a survey. We've talked about, the survey comes with you checking for, objective evidence, trying to look for evidence on board. But, in preparation for a survey as well, try to keep in mind that you must also check for all certificates that apply to, that or are attached to that particular certificate. Let's take, for example, now the cargo ship safety equipment certificate. It has what they call Form E, which is just a record of the equipment which your vessel, as per, firefighting arrangements, life-saving appliances, as well as, pilot boarding arrangements, nautical publications, charts, means of sounding signals as well, what you should have on board. So it will be listed on that certificate. And then, preparing for such survey, you must make sure that you have the certificate, you have that form attached as well. Otherwise that certificate is not even valid. And also you try to see, okay, if you have other manuals on board, manuals like, your SOLAS training manual should be on board, manuals, maintenance manuals for each certificate, each equipment you have on board. All this will be checked as well, having your, fire and safety plans on board. So keeping in mind that while knowing the certificates, know everything that is attached to each certification, which is very important. So we've had a run through SOLAS certificates. I think I've been doing a bit of talking, but while looking at statutory certificates too, would try to know what the MAPO certificates are all about, because we try to just break them into each regulation or each which applies and how the certificate comes about. So we've done a bit of SOLAS certificates. I would like to move to MAPO, but before I move, at least we should do an interactive class. I will just try to see if maybe one of us could remember what we have for MAPO. But also before I go into that, I will just stop here a bit. If anyone has a question, or if we're actually having an understanding of this topic, then you should just dedicate. So we just maybe pick up one or two questions and run through. So if anybody has a question or you need more clarification on anything, you could just signify so that we quickly talk through that before we move to the MAPO certificates.
I'm also making notes, so let me show everybody that I was making notes. You see, all right. And this is what you have when you have something that is very fresh. Everything is there. Too much juice, too much sauce. But it's been interesting actually. So does anybody have any question, please, or any contribution? Let me see. Now everybody's using initials. I will not be able to catch people by their name.
Yeah.
BY.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, anything? What do you have to? Or do you have any question? Do you have? Do you remember? Can you recall what you've heard so far? Just give us a minute of something.
He was talking about certificates basically needed to run the ship and safe management of the ship and stuff like that. So I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's sometimes like flag state requirements are different from, say, port state requirements, and then at the same time you have like an audit from, say, you have an audit from an external body, say DNVGL or something like that.
That's class. DNVGL is a
class.
Yeah.
That's class, yes. That's class. So you have an audit from, okay, say, state, but like flag state and port state, there's some issue. So like, which one do you follow? Do you follow the flag state or requirements, or you? I don't know how to explain it properly.
So let me understand your question. You feel if there is a conflict between the flag states and the port states, right? Which should you?
Yes,
follow?
requirements. Yes.
Okay. Captain Harris, do you have some contribution to that, please?
Okay. Well, like we said about the ship, first of all, the flag is the nationality. So whatever the flag state requirements are, then definitely the ship has to follow. Then maybe you go to a foreign port and you have the port state control coming on board and they have their requirements as well. Yeah, looking at it from a business perspective, and also if it's required and your trading route is required by the port state. Like for example, like I said initially, the National Ballast Water Management Convention has not been ratified, for example, in the UK, but a statement of compliance is issued in this regard. For a vessel to trade internationally, definitely she would call at different ports, and then there will be port state requirements, like local requirements. And for you to be in that port, you have to conform. Basically, it wouldn't be any form of law from any country. Definitely you conform. But if it's an international regulation, let's say from the IMO body, and coming down, and your flag doesn't comply. In this regard, you see in most flag states, you're giving like a statement of compliance so that you could trade internationally. Otherwise, you'll have delays. Yeah, definitely you try to inform your flag. They would, try to communicate with the port state as well, because even when it comes to detentions and all, we should also remember that we could as well, do a form of make if you're detained in a foreign port, and then maybe for some reasons, there's also you have a room or a window to actually, challenge that authority as well. To avoid these delays in most cases, then definitely you would have to try as much as possible to conform with their own local laws if you actually go into that port. But looking at it again from another angle, always make sure that you understand that everything that has to do with your vessel, in regards to the flag or the administration that has to be complied with, you know. But for every other flag, you don't have to. Or if you're trading internationally, then your flag would always ensure, you know, in the situation that they give you things like, you know, a statement of compliance in this regards to ensure that you could trade internationally, because definitely if you're registered to one flag, it's not just for you. So where 100% compliance should be for your flag, which is 100%, but every other, you know, regulations which your flag is not complying to. If you have a business, you know, trading internationally, then you should have, you know, like you should comply, you know, by getting those certificates done, or service done to get those certificates, or if your flag would give you a statement of compliance, you should, otherwise you start having commercial problems along the line. So that's my reply to you.
All right, so let me add practical example. So I was on a Singapore flag vessel, and this is about certificates, and they used to issue their COE equivalent, you know, COC equivalent, just paper electronic copy without the seal, you know. And we traded to some Francophone African countries, and they said the certificate is fake. That for them, the certificate must have the seal, the physical seal. That was not funny. I have to tell you that. And that was fines, a lot of fines. In their own waters, certificate must have a seal. Although, yeah, the flag states is issued, but the port states would not agree. And I know that for fact, due to the pressure from the ship owners, because of business, commercial, they are not happy to be taking these fines. They actually pressured, I think, Singapore, in this case, to issue certificate with a seal. So it is what it is, and they can be funny sometimes. And just that. So it also, even the rules of the road, any laws made by, you know, local authorities, harbors, so
rivers, lakes.
Exactly. So you have to comply if you know you want to do this. So I'm also trying to I'm trying to make you host, hopefully. So if you can be able to add people in. A lot of people are knocking on the door, but I cannot see them here. So any other question, please, before we move on to the next? Let me see. Let me make a gamble. Now, yes.
I want to be specific here, like for every different ships, there is a different certificate that is being carried by all of them that is applicable to them, if I'm right, I don't know. Okay, now, for example, like my vessel now is supply vessel, specifically, like how many certificates specifically that I would say that, okay, I'm having for me to trade internationally, that is peculiar, that is germane to me, that I will not have problem, or for different type of ships. Like, I don't know if you can run it through a cargo vessel, this is the amount of certificate it needs. Them so vessel, this is the amount of certificate it needs. I don't know. Thank you very much, please.
Okay, thank you for that question. If you know, like what we've been talking about earlier, certificates are, you know, having their, you know, the model of certificate has to do with regulations or conventions, DPET certifications. And for every ship to say, okay, yes, this is a supply vessel, this is the number of, you know, certificates I would have, or, you know, this is maybe like some LNG or whatever vessel it is, this is the kind of certificates or the number of certificates I would have. Now you're not thinking about this thing. For if you go drift into a bit of, you know, maritime law, conventions are made, you know, regulations are made. You look, who are the party to these conventions? Like, who's IMO, for example, is a body, and then different states like Nigeria, you know, is part of it. You know, Germany, you know, France is all part of it. Now, for example, a ship definitely, like we said earlier, will have a nationality. Like I'm Nigerian, I have a Nigerian passport. a ship having a Nigerian flag is also more like, having the nationality of Nigeria. Now, different IMO conventions, different regulations, right? In this situation, if, for example, Nigeria does not accept, let's just speak, for example, maybe Nigeria does not accept we don't conform to this convention, like anti-fouling, for example. Yeah, then she will tell you, okay, no need for you to have this certificate. We don't accept this. You get my point? So you wouldn't have that certificate. So basically, whatever you're having on board your vessel is what your flag state, has, accepted, or they confirm to that particular regulation that you would have. Like when we start building certificates from various, regulations or conventions, just for you to have an understanding of, okay, this certificate, where it's coming from. Like if you look at the certificates on board, you see it always have, like a seal, the state issuing the certificate. Then if you read to the bottom, you see, okay, it's issued in so regulation of SOLAS chapter this, all these are there. For every certificate is that way. And for you to have them on board, definitely your flag must have, confirmed to that regulation. And anything your flag has confirmed to, and they say, okay, you must have this, that's a statutory certificate. By law, you should have that certificate. Then you see other certificates on board, things that has to do with, things like, certificates of maybe things like insurance. You have other certificates like, sanitation certificates and all that. These are non-statutory. But now you need to trade. The businessman wants to do business. Ship owner wants to do business, for example. You need to have this certificate. Okay, let's look at, if you work on offshore, you see something like, the OVID inspection, which we normally do. It's not statutory, it's an inspection to just give you, like at the end of the day, a report for. Yeah, but for commercial purpose now, you need to have this on board. You get my point? So they will always have certificates on board, which are statutory, which is the one your flag conforms to, you must have. For that particular, let's say for a cargo ship or a passenger ship, or you should have. You get my point? Then for commercial purpose too, you still see other certificates on board. Like you see Panama Canal certificate, this kind of certificates, you have them on board. These are not statutory, but you should have this certificate, like your Suez Canal, certifications and all that. You should have these certificates as well to trade. So back to the base of your question, whatever you should have on board is based on what your flag conforms to, the regulation. Then based on the trading, the business the ship wants to do for commercial purpose, to get her insurance premium, to be able to trade with charterers and all that. Then you still have other certificates which are non-statutory, but based on business and commercial purpose you would have. So I cannot just sit down now and tell you, for a cargo ship, we should start listing all the certificates you should have, various ships, and but the statutory certificate required by your flag you should have. And why we pick on SOLAS here for a start is that yes, everybody is a party to SOLAS. You get my point? And definitely you should have this certificate. We are moving down to MAPO now. Yes, you will have the certificate. So these are just like how we're trying to break it down. I don't know if you get this explanation clear.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Captain Harrison, thank you very much. Like tonight was really very educative, and congratulations again. We'll keep popping the champagne. I just want to shed more light on Jimo's question. I just want to add one or two things. When Jimo was specifying on certification for supply vessels, Jimo, I want to tell you that when you are facing an examiner and he asks you for certificate regarding your vessel, there are mandated certificates, no matter if you are a tanker, no matter if you are a supply vessel, if you are an LNG, certificates that has to do with SOLAS just got to be there, your MAPO certificates has got to be there, your ISM, your ISPS. So you have to stick with the basics first before you go into the more complicated ones. So just like Captain Harrison has already tried to explain to you that yes, there are different certificates which we cannot go into tonight and start explaining. But the thing is, you need to still go back and know what certificate is the statutory certificate that everybody must carry. Your vessel must carry, your tanker, if you are a tanker, you must carry, you are a container ship. Captain Harrison and Captain Tayo and Captain Ansi will tell you that you might be sailing on a tanker vessel, but when you are facing an examiner, he is going to put you on a bulk carrier that you've never been there before. But our confidence is we should not be afraid, because the same principle still applies. So I wanted to go back and then, just like Captain Harrison has given us now, check what are the statutory certificates a vessel trading internationally must carry. Be you a tanker, be you a bulk carrier, or be you any vessel. So those are the ones, and you must know, just like he was saying, you must know their intermediate survey, annual renewal survey, every survey that must be carried out on the certificate and why is it carried out. That should be your point of focus. Then you can now start going into vessel specific. If you understand what I'm saying, Jim. Yeah, that's what I just wanted to chip in. Thank you once again, Captain Harrison.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm compiling our assignment for the class for next week, and I will be sharing that with everybody. So again, thank you so much for everybody. I don't know who is in the room or who is not, to be honest. I'm flying blind. This is visibility for me now. But I think, yeah, well, I can see myself, I can feel myself, but anyway. So thanks, BA, thanks to everybody, BY, NJ, MA, AB, EA, FH, JJ, SB, and thanks for coming. So it's, see you next week.
Thank you, sir. See you next week.
Yeah.
All right, see you next week.
Thank you, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Captain Harrison and Captain Shimaja and Captain Busayo. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks, everybody.
Captains. Captain, thank
See you next week.
See you next week.